Okay, it's a 5-year loan of 900,000, and it has to be repaid. Okay, initially, based on the paperwork which was signed, she was supposed to pay 18,248 rand and 75 cents. Then the interest rate was 8% per annum compounded monthly, and then she decided to pay 20,000 rand instead of the 18,248 and 75 cents. Right? So the question says, calculate the balance outstanding after the 30th payment. Now remember, we have got two formulae. Okay? So the first formula, we use the compound interest formula. Okay, our number of payments is going to be equal to K, which is the number of payments up to a specific point. Okay, so we put K there, not N, minus X. Okay, we have to calculate the future value of the payments made. And then that future value, we have to subtract it from the compound interest formula. So you have to have that. Okay, so this is the first formula. The second one, we use the present value to calculate the balance outstanding. But here, our number of payments is going to be N minus K. So we are starting from where a person stopped up to the end. Okay, so we get N minus K all over I. Now, these two formulae, they are very unique because sometimes you may need to use the first one. There are other times where you might need to use the second formula. There are also times when both can give you the same answer. So it's very important for you to read the question that you have at that specific point or at that specific time and understand what the question wants and what the question contains in terms of the values like the P, the K, the X, the N, and so on. It's very, very important because you can end up doing it in an incorrect way. Right, so for this question, if you read it carefully, there was a change in the monthly payment, which means the number of payments to amortize the loan, that is N, this one here is going to end up decreasing. So the N is going to decrease because the monthly payment is now 20,000 instead of 18,000, which means the person is going to take less time to pay it off as compared to if the person was paying 18,248 and 75 cents. That's common sense. Okay? So, what are we given? In the question, we can get N because it says the loan is supposed to be paid off within 5 years. Right? Then we also have K. Right? We also have K. Now, in my opinion, it would be better to use the first formula because K is provided. So you can substitute the K there, the K there, the P is there, it's 900,000. The I is 8% over 12, and then you can simplify and get the solution. All right? Now, method two now, if you want to use it, you are going to need to find the N for the 20,000. The N for the 20,000 is not the same as the N for the 18,000. Okay? So you have to use the present value formula to get the N for this question here. When I say N, I'm talking about this N here. Then you have to subtract the K. If you remember on Thursday, we subtracted and we got a value for N minus K, which was a decimal, which from now on we should not round it off. Okay? If you round it off, you get an answer which is slightly different from the one that you get from there. Okay? Is there anybody else got a question for what I just said? Alright, so let's carry on the next page. I'll use number 1 because K is provided there. Now, if I use number 1, remember with number 1, the P is still the same, 900,000. And then use our compound interest formula. That will be 8% because the interest rate did not change. And our K is equal to 30 because the question says calculate his balance outstanding after the 30th payment. Okay? Minus X. Okay, our X is 20,000. So that will be 1 plus 0.08 over 12, all raised to the power of 30. Remember, okay, I need to emphasize this, that whatever value you put here, that's the same as the one you put there. Okay, if you make a mistake of putting two incorrect values there, values that are not the same, then you get an incorrect answer, right? Then you subtract your 1 there, and then you divide by the interest. Right, if you simplify that, what answer do you get?
436,726.04.
It's very surprising that I did this question last year. But okay, obviously at T naught here, that's when the money was borrowed, and that amount is X. Okay, sorry, it's not X, let's call it T. Okay, a certain amount was borrowed there. Then 6 months from there, okay, here, so we have got T6. The first payment is made at T6, okay, because the person says starting 6 months from now. 6 months from where? From T naught, okay? It's 6 months, because T naught, that's the day when the person goes to the bank to borrow the money. That's where T naught is. So 6 months from there, we get to T naught. Now, how many of you, I'm just want to ask this question. What is the difference between the T's and the months? On a timeline, what is the difference between Tn? When I say Tn, I'm talking about T naught, T1, T2, T3, and the number of months. Huh? Did you understand my question? I'm saying on a timeline, what is the difference between the Tn's and, okay, the months? If I were to ask you, how do you, okay, let's say, can you write a formula to connect the months and the Tn's? How would you write it?
So isn't T the payments?
And then?
So it depends on how it's compounded. So if it's compounded monthly, then 12 T's would be 1 month, meaning 1 year.
12 T's. What about that T naught?
Isn't T not the day the loan is altered?
Yeah, but when you're dealing with questions on investments, do you include or exclude it?
Excluded, because you don't go paying a month later.
That's right. When you're doing questions on investments, do you include T naught? Like in the case where the person goes to Old Mutual, if they want to open a retirement annuity funds, on the day they sign the paperwork, they deposit some money. Are you going to include it?
100 years.
Yeah. So in general, what's the difference between the two? I'm talking about months, not the quarters, because generally in real life, okay, in real life, you make payments per month. Okay, so I'm talking about a scenario like this one where you have got your TNs and you've got your months. Okay, if I'll give you an example, if I would ask you, how do you determine, say, the number of months if you have got, say, T5, but T naught is excluded?
The not be
So? Yeah. So you need to understand that, let's say a month, if you check a month, where is the month? The month is the time period between, say, T0 and what? And T1. That's what? 1 month. Alright? Then your second month will be between T2 and what? And T1. Right? The third month between what? Between T3 and what? And T2. So here the question is saying starting 6 months from now. So where do your 6 months end? The 6 months end here. Towards at the beginning of where we have got T6, where you are starting the 7th month. So if a payment is made here and we are dealing with a loan, it means that the T note is excluded, right? But when you are dealing with number of months, between T note and T1, that's your first month, T1 and T2, that's your second, and so on. So your number of payments, because you are dealing with a loan, you don't include what? T naught. So when you count, you start from T1 up to where? Up to where? Up to T6. So in terms of n, how many n's are you gonna have? 5 or 6? It will be what? No, the person is gonna make a payment here. Remember, the payment is made at the end of the month. Okay? It's not made at the beginning of the month. It's made at the what? At the end of the month. So your n is gonna be 6 minus 1 because this T naught is not included because we are dealing with the what? With a loan. So for the question, when you are calculating your balance outstanding, remember, here, what are we trying to calculate? We are trying to calculate the amount borrowed. That is what? P. Okay? That is P. So, a specific amount of money P was borrowed. Okay? And then we use the compound interest formula. Right? And this must give us, because remember we are dealing with a delayed payment of a loan, so we use the present value formula. So it will be x times 1 minus 1 plus I raised to the power of minus n. Right? I prefer to call this one n1 and to call that one n2 to avoid confusion. Right? And that is all over I. So no payment is made at T naught. The first payment is made at T6. Okay? So, how many number of payments? It's going to be what? 5. Alright? Then, you want to calculate this P. Because that's the amount what? Borrowed. So, this becomes P will be equal to all this. Right? If I substitute here, it's 1,000 times 1 minus 1 plus. The interest rate is 10%, so that will be 0.105 over 12, right? Raise the power of, now, my N2 is the number of payments which was made, which is what? 48. So that will be minus 48 all over the I, that's 0.105 over 12. We are going to divide all this. We'll divide all that by whatever is going to be there. Okay? So, you do the division, you will get 1 plus 0.105 over 12 raised to the power of what? Of 5. So if you simplify that, what do you get?
37,392.
You get P equal to
37,392.
392.54. Okay. So be very careful with that end there. Right, be very careful. I wanted to make sure that I emphasize this.